Hi everyone. Today we're joined by the lovely Nurun Ahmed. She was the very first hijab wearing candidate on the BBC show The Apprentice. That was series 10. We'll be talking all things careers, working life, family work balance, and Nurun's experience on the show. So welcome, Nurun.
Thank you very much for obviously inviting me on to your show. And yeah, so I think obviously, for those that don't know me, I was a former contestant on BBC The Apprentice, the first Hijabi.
And has the hijab ever been a barrier for you in applying for anything? Now, I know obviously it wasn't a barrier for you in terms of applying for The
The
Apprentice,
Apprentice.
but I mean, in other jobs, in kind of other, in terms of your career, has it ever been a barrier for you?
Not really. I mean, I started wearing the hijab, I think properly, I'd say back in when I was finally at university, so back in 2001, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I think um, it was never an issue ever for me. I'd happily go to interviews. There was a period when I didn't wear a scarf, so I think I can sort of honestly say, me having a scarf and not having a scarf, the interview process, I don't think I've ever been discriminated against,
Yeah.
or I didn't feel any prejudice against my scarf or anything. So, I'd happily just walk in, because I personally think obviously it's your character and everything else, your persona that carries you, than your scarf. And I think it's something that they, like a potential employer should notice that first, rather than your clothing or anything. It's like a Sikh person having a turban or a Jewish person having a skull cap. I think that should never ever ever come in between a person and obviously whether they're a suitable candidate or not.
100%, 100%. And I think that, like, for me, watching you on the show, it gave me a bit of confidence going into job interviews because, I started wearing it when I was about maybe 18. I was at college, and I do remember before college thinking, oh, my university, interviews, how am I going to get through it? What am I going to do? And then after that, I think when I qualified, I then realised I've got a lot of interviews coming up, and alhamdulillah, it's never been an issue. But I do remember watching you and thinking that gave me a boost that actually it should
If
never.
Nurun can do it, I can do it.
Exactly, exactly. And it's also a thing that in your back of your mind, you think, oh, if I put my hair out, I might get this job, or more likely to get
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
why. I don't
yeah,
know
yeah,
what
yeah,
that is because actually, like
yeah.
you said, it shouldn't matter because well, not skill set, right? But okay. Obviously, you don't like to call yourself an entrepreneur, but obviously you are a businesswoman, successful, and you have a family. So how do you balance that out? You've got 3 kids, like you said. How do you balance out career with family?
I think like success, it's something that you measure. It's somewhat something that you should measure, like as a person, and not what people perceive you as to be. So for me, if I can actually happily manage my home, and then go into my business and manage that for me is a success. It might not be a profitable business, that's totally different.
Yeah.
So success obviously is how people measure it, is how they perceive, and how I am actually managing that. So for me, that is a success. If I know that my daughters, alhamdulillah, that I can raise them Islamically, I can raise them up, with the education, what they need to do, living in the society, being, I can actually feed them, good morals, etiquettes,
Yeah.
and then I'm able to manage my home. That for me is being successful. And I think with everything, the work-life balance, living in this country, I think it's something that we just naturally adapt to. It's one of those things where we know that it's, we need to sort of go out there and work, whether it's your business or being, employed, whichever it is. And I think from an early young age, we're sort of disciplined into, just sort of just fitting into that work-life balance. And I think at times it is hard, obviously, when you've got customers and some things that they don't go really well according to plan. Like
Yeah.
for example, with the COVID, I didn't
Yeah.
really think that I'd be facing the situation. So, like I've got stock, for example, that I purchased for Christmas. I was unable to trade over Christmas. I put off my online business due to other sort of, like sort of family issues. And then I thought to myself, oh my God, why did I not set it up? It would have been the best, time just to
Yeah.
go online. So, all of these things, I think you just have to take it as it comes. And I think if you stress yourself about it,
Yeah.
nothing it's not going to get done. Nothing's going to get done. So I
Mm.
think for me, it's just taking it, as you know, as it comes by, basically, every day.
Okay, and if you had any tips on how you kind of manage that balance, if you had 3 tips, what would you say? What would you
You
say
know,
to them?
I think for me, what works is not to over plan. For me, over planning is the most stressful thing. So I cannot go to sleep thinking about, oh my God, I need to do this, I need to do that. Every day I'd wake up in the morning and it's a clean sort of page. For me, I'll set about what I need to do
Yeah,
there and then, because I find myself that if I'm going to stress about it, sort of stress about what I'm going to do the next day, the night before, nothing's going to be done. Because then
yeah,
I wake up in the morning and I'm in bed feeling depressed, thinking, oh my God, I need to do this. So I'll
mhm,
wake up in the morning and whatever comes to my mind, I'm going to do it. So if it's like, okay, Nurun, today is just focus on the housework. I'm
yeah,
going to do the housework. If I'm going to wake up in the morning, I think, well, hang on a minute, I've got to, dedicate housework, and then I've got to really speak to a supplier, and then I've got to do this. I'll do that, and
okay.
that's the only way, I think. So the best thing is not to over plan. Yeah.
Don't over plan.
Yeah. Secondly, is not to beat yourself about it. If something isn't done, don't beat
Mm,
yourself about it. Just think, okay, you know what, I'm going to try again the next day, whatever it is. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Unless it's a really, really urgent matter. So obviously anything that takes priority, you have to, get it out of the way, whichever it is. Yeah.
yeah,
And obviously with the final thing, for me, I think is, at the end of the day, like, whatever you do, whatever you manage, your time, is not to leave out what is the main priority, and that's your salah.
yeah,
And I promise you that, if when we think, oh my God, we're so busy and we can't do everything, I've found, it's been about a year now, that when I've incorporated my salah in my daily life, I found that Allah's given me that barakat in my time. I find
mm,
more time to do things. But when I didn't, yeah, I promise you not, yeah. For me, even like 24 hours was not enough for me in that day. Well, 12 hours productively.
wow, wow,
Yeah.
subhanallah, there you
So I
go.
would always say that is fit in your salah and Quran. Even if it's just 10 minutes, just fit
Yeah,
that in. And you'll see
yeah.
the difference.
Wow. No, that's amazing advice. That is beautiful advice as well, because that's so true of what you were talking about as well, in terms of what we perceive as success too. And actually it's about being content as well with what we've
Absolutely.
got, isn't it? But I think that that is beautiful. I'm definitely going to take these tips on board myself now, especially for time management.
No, no, of course.
No, definitely. And finally, and I promise it's the last question because I've asked you so many
No,
questions.
it's okay.
Um, but I guess the final question is, obviously you've had lots of interviews. You've been on the craziest interviews, like even in front of the public. So what are your 3 tips? You've given 3 tips about balancing family life and stuff like that, and managing at home. But 3 tips for women for job interviews.
First of all, is definitely is set your boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they, be assertive and set your boundaries on the do's and don'ts and what you can and what you can't do.
Okay.
Secondly, is always integrity. Integrity is key. Okay, is never ever ever drop that. And I think for me, um, having that, it kind of shows, it resonates. When an employer can see that, they'll see you as being a real sort of genuine person and honest. And I think that that comes across naturally. So
Yeah.
integrity is key. And then final thing, like I said, is always, really be honest and just be yourself. Like, don't over exaggerate any situation.
Yeah.
Employers can see through that. So whatever the situation is, try and be candid as possible, but obviously, be quite sort of, thinking, be quite diplomatic,
Yeah.
of how you sort of portray yourself. But is for me, those three things have always worked for me, like throughout my whole career.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that's so true about, especially about kind of your do's and your don'ts, and being, because sometimes it's quite often we think, oh, like I need to get this job, I need it, I need it, I need it.
Yeah.
But actually, it's about what can you get from that job? What can you get? Are these people the type of people you actually want to work for? And I think I've only got that now as I've been kind of
Mm.
progressing in my career. But at the start of my career, I was really kind of like, I just need any job. and
Yeah,
I'll be
yeah.
happy anywhere. But actually, that's not the case. It is the case of who are you actually working for, and are they approachable? Are they friendly? Are they going to support you? Are they honest as well? Will they give you timely feedback and all that kind of stuff? I think that really is important too. But anyways,
But I think you always, before you go into an interview, like from a very, every time that I've gone into an interview, the first thing that I've always, in the back of my head is always like, it's my risk, it's written. If I'm meant to get it, I'm going to get it. I'm not going to try desperately, like obviously I need a job, but if it goes my way, alhamdulillah. If it doesn't, it's not meant to be. And in every interview that I've been to, I've always asked Allah, to help me. If it's something, there's hair in it, if there's goodness in it,
yeah,
give it to like bring it my way. If it isn't, move it away from me. And I think it's at the end of the day, you think is your risk that, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If it's not, then like I said, you just try again.
yeah, it's so true. And I feel like every time I've made that kind of dua, like, Allah, please,
Yeah,
whatever's good for me, make me content with it. And it's kind of like almost like
absolutely.
it's that istikara dua, isn't it? Like a little
Yeah,
bit about, even if I don't get it, please let me be content with the fact that I've not got this. And I think that's always helped.
mm,
And it's so true because Allah always has something open for everyone. Everyone's got their own talent, don't they? Everyone's born with something in them that they can give. And I think it's very inspiring to hear you because seeing you on TV and then and what you're doing and you're balancing your career and everything. Honestly,
yeah,
mashallah, and I love the fact that your priority, is really, like you said, salah and stuff like that, and integrity and character. I think this is probably why people are successful because they're prioritizing the right things in life, and I think that's really inspirational to hear. But you know what? I've asked you so many questions, so I'm going to keep it to an end there now. I know I could go. I think I could talk to you all day, but but thank you so much for giving us your time. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope you really enjoyed it and took some really inspirational tips from Nurun. Yeah, thank you.